Ilene had just settled into the evening, sipping tea on her couch, when her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. She hesitated before opening it, her mind immediately jumping to all the unwanted possibilities. Spam, another work notification, or worse, something from Richard. But the message was unexpected. "Hi Ilene, it's Vivian. I know this is probably the last thing you want, but I was hoping we could talk, please." Ilene stared at the text, her chest tightening. Vivian? She had thought about the other woman often, but she never imagined hearing from her. What did she want? After a few minutes of debating, Ilene's fingers moved over the screen. "Fine. Where?" Vivian responded almost immediately, suggesting a coffee shop in the middle of town. With a sense of dread curling in her stomach, Ilene agreed. The cafe was quiet when Ilene walked in, the warm smell of freshly brewed coffee masking the tension swirling inside her. She spotted Vivian at a small table in the corner, her eyes shifting nervously to the door every few seconds. When their eyes met, Ilene saw something unexpected: guilt. Vivian stood as Ilene approached, awkwardly gesturing toward the seat across from her. "Thanks for meeting me." Ilene slid into the chair, her expression guarded. "What do you want, Vivian?" Vivian swallowed hard, fiddling with the edge of her coffee cup. "I'm not here to cause any more trouble, I promise. I need to clear the air." Ilene raised an eyebrow but said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "I'm sure you know that Richard and I were together for a while," Vivian began, her voice shaky. "What you don't know is that it wasn't just during that open marriage period he asked you for." Ilene's stomach twisted, a bitter taste rising in her throat. "What are you talking about?" Vivian took a deep breath. "We were seeing each other for 3 years, Ilene, long before he asked to open the marriage. 3 years." The words hit Ilene like a punch to the gut, knocking the breath from her lungs. She stared at Vivian, trying to process the confession. She had always suspected that Richard's affair with Vivian wasn't as simple as he made it seem. But 3 years? That was a different kind of betrayal. 3 years? Ilene whispered, her voice barely audible. Vivian nodded, guilt flashing in her eyes. "Yes, I didn't know about you at first, I swear. He told me he was unhappy, that you were distant, that your marriage was falling apart. By the time I found out the truth, I was already in too deep." Ilene gritted her teeth, anger bubbling up inside her. "And you didn't think to walk away? To confront him?" "I did," Vivian said quickly, her hands trembling. "I tried. A few months ago, I gave him an ultimatum. I told him he had to choose, me or you. I thought he had chosen me. He started staying overnight, and I thought we were finally in a real relationship, but..." Vivian's voice cracked, and she shook her head. "What I didn't know was that every time he left my place, he was going home to you. He was living a double life, Ilene." Ilene closed her eyes, the weight of Vivian's words pressing down on her. It was worse than she thought, so much worse. All those nights when she had trusted him, when she had believed his lies about working late or being away for business, all of it had been a sham. "After your divorce," Vivian continued, her voice soft, "he moved in with me. But it didn't last. She paused, glancing away as if embarrassed. "He started seeing other women." A bitter laugh escaped Ilene's lips before she could stop it. "Of course he did." Vivian's face crumpled and she looked down at the table. "I thought he loved me. I thought I was different. But the truth is, Richard can't be loyal to anyone. Not me. Not you." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Ilene's heart was pounding, the anger simmering in her chest. She had known Richard was selfish, but hearing it from Vivian, hearing the full extent of his deceit, felt like reopening a wound she had barely begun to heal. "I don't know what you expect me to say," Ilene finally muttered, crossing her arms. "You knew what you were doing, Vivian. You knew you were with a married man, and you stayed. I should be furious with you, and I am, but honestly, I feel sorry for you too." Vivian's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded. "I deserve that. I needed you to know the truth. And maybe," she added, her voice small, "I needed to hear it from someone else that I wasn't the only one he did this to." Ilene sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Well, now you know." Vivian nodded again, wiping her eyes. "Thank you for listening. I'm sorry, Ilene, for everything." Without waiting for a response, Vivian stood and hurried out of the cafe, leaving Ilene sitting there in stunned silence. As the door swung shut behind her, Ilene let out a long, shaky breath. She should have felt vindicated. In a way, she did. Knowing the full extent of Richard's betrayal gave her some measure of closure. But at the same time, it left her with an overwhelming sense of anger. At herself, at Richard, and at the years she had wasted trying to salvage something that had been broken long before she knew it. She had trusted him. She had believed in their marriage, and he had lied over and over again. Ilene picked up her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found her therapist's number. It was time to talk to someone, to unpack the emotions swirling inside her. Because while Richard and his lies were behind her, the damage he had done still lingered. It was time to heal, for real this time.